Hi everybody!
So, the remake for Trails in the Sky is going to land right around when I said it would. I'm not all that surprised, given what I'd been told in the past, along with how Falcom operates, as they typically release their biggest game around then, with maybe a remaster thrown into the mix earlier in the year. But I'm not here to stroke my own ego at the expense of the numpties who detract from what I say with their brain-dead statements. I'm here to talk about why you need to get hyped up for the Trails in the Sky remake and why you need to support the damn thing just like you needed to support Metaphor ReFantazio. So for those not in the know, the game will be out on September 19th. This is a good thing as it avoids October, which gamers typically nickname Broketober, because that's usually around when all of the big games come out to make a push for the holiday sales. So while Trails in the Sky remake will avoid the worst of it, it's still coming out just in time for the holidays. So, enough preamble. Why should you be excited for the Trails in the Sky remake? It mostly comes down to the fact the Sky games were not all that accessible unless you had a computer. That's great for most, considering the games require specs that even a productivity PC from Walmart can run. However, console gamers outside of Japan have not been so lucky, thanks to the problems XE had with the localization of the titles back in the day. This had such a knock-on effect that we Westerners didn't get the Crossbell duology until very recently, even though they're the 4th and 5th games released chronologically. So from that standpoint alone, the first game getting the remake treatment is a good thing. Also, Falcom's president, Toshihiro Kondo, has stated if this remake is successful, the rest of the Liberal arc will be remade as well, but more on that later. This remake is going to be a great thing for Trails newcomers, and yes, I will be making a new video on where to start the series post-remake. That'll launch in time for the game, so hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you'll know when that and other Trails-related content goes live. But a brand new iteration of the original Sky game is just going to be a great thing to newcomers, because the first 3 games really haven't aged as well as they could have, even if the pixel art is still beautiful to look at to this day. It mostly comes down to how the games aged mechanically. The first 2 games are insanely bare bones, and really lack some of the quality of life improvements one would expect for a modern game. Given how old these titles are, they can be forgiven. So having the game in gorgeous 3D, along with various quality of life features one can expect from a modern game, makes the package more compelling. The game is also going to feature an updated script, though it will be based somewhat on the one from Exceed released all those years ago. Fans should be excited though, since Gung Ho recently released the Lunar Remastered Collection, which also featured an updated translation loosely based off the one from Working Designs, which fans of the Lunar franchise are reacting to favorably. So I imagine Gung Ho will achieve the same thing with Trails in the Sky. The updated translation will also give old hats a reason to revisit this entry, which allows us to segue into the next section of the video, which is why you need to support the goddamn thing. But if you've made it this far into the video, smash that bloody like button. Look, I know the saying goes that Kondo lies, and I don't entirely agree with that statement, since, just like every good businessman, he distorts the truth of things. He has said the fans need to come out and support this title if they want the remakes to happen for 2nd and 3rd chapters. However, let's look at this from a logical standpoint, something I know most gamers aren't all that good at. The waifu brain rot is real, folks. As a business, Falcom makes their money by working smarter. They don't have the budgets of a Capcom, Square Enix, or even an Atlus. Those companies can throw money around at projects that, logically speaking, should not even get the green light. I'm looking at Foam Stars for that one, so they focus more on quantity. This is why we typically get 1 new Falcom game per year. If you can't keep up, I'll simplify this for you further. Falcom works smarter and is able to maintain the excellent level of quality they have by reusing assets over and over again. Some will call this lazy development, but it also keeps the costs down, and Falcom make up for this perceived laziness in other ways, namely in the excellent gameplay or with the really intricate stories. So, if the first chapter in the Sky trilogy is being made, logic dictates the 2nd and 3rd chapters are also being remade at the same time. Those games effectively are just asset swaps of the first game with some new areas added in for good measure, with the exception being third chapter, which is more of a dungeon crawler. This is a formula that Falcom have perfected over the last 2 decades. It's not going to change. So when Kondo says the remakes of second and third chapter will only happen if the first one meets sales expectations, there is a kernel of truth there, albeit a very small one. Again, using something called logic, we can infer his meaning. If the first title sells to expectations or better, second and third chapter remakes will be prioritized over other projects. If not, they'll still happen, but they won't get the priority. Since Falcom will want to release new entries for Ys, Xanadu, and actually advance the story forward in the Trails franchise, that's a lot of plates to juggle. But Kondo isn't stupid. He knows the Sky remake is going to sell at least to expectations. He's just being very political in his statements, so that Trails fans will get into a frenzy and buy the game, maybe buying it multiple times, because they want their friends and family members to experience these games. But he can't just come out and state that, because if fans of the series and JRPG enthusiasts know the second and third games are coming down the pipeline, then they aren't going to go out and buy the first title right away. They're going to wait until all 3 titles are out so that they can just no-life the trilogy and not have to wait months or even years to experience these stories. So that's why Kondo is being a little bit on the coy side and trying to rile up the fanbase. It just makes sense from a business standpoint. However, just because you have that knowledge that the sequels will come out eventually, doesn't mean you should stand on the sidelines waiting for them. Hell, I'd argue this gives you more incentive to pick up the first chapter when it drops and enjoy the hell out of it, and if possible, buy it for someone special in your life. The whole reason I even got into Trails was because a friend of mine in real life gifted me one of the games when I did a photo gig for him. I got the Lionheart edition of Cold Steel 1, and I was fucking hooked. I've since done all that I can with this channel and my other social media platforms to get people into this series, which has given me so much. It's my way of paying it forward. Also, if you want to follow my other socials, the links are in the description. But your supporting this game ensures we get the sequels, and I have it on good authority, the Crossbell duology will also get a remake treatment down the line, likely in the early to mid 2030s, maybe sooner if this trilogy does well. Basically support the damn game, folks, and it'll pay off going forward. Also, keep your eyes peeled for an upcoming video where I discuss how the Sky remake will succeed, along with how it could fail. So will you be picking up the Sky remake on September 19th, or are you going to wait it out? I know I'll be getting it ASAP. I also hope Gung Ho will hook me up with a review copy so I can be one of the first reviewers on this platform. My love for Falcom games should be reason enough. Thanks go out to my current channel members, whose names are appearing on screen now. If you want exclusive perks and help make this channel a better place, then hit the join button or the link in the description. Now check out my previous video on where to start the Trail series, and until next time, keep blazing that trail.